Oh, mate, I think you're going to be able to nail this one. What do you reckon?
I think my odds are pretty good, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. So when I was roughly 3 years old, my parents noticed that I had problems seeing in dimly lit rooms. Doctors diagnosed me with retinitis pigmentosa, which is RP for short, but essentially it just means that at some point they told my parents it was highly probable that I would go blind.
When did it all start to really take effect?
Well, it really started happening late high school, more so early college. So I was at university and I was studying to go into the medical field because I wanted to help other people. And then after going blind, I wasn't even sure if I could help myself.
Like the acceptance part of it must have been a tough journey and a bitter pill to swallow.
I think that was probably the most difficult part, is the emotional acceptance of the situation, because for so many years, I tried to act as if I could see okay. I tried to pretend like my eyesight was perfect, even though it was anything but. And, it's a lot harder to be half-sighted than it is to be totally blind. And I think a lot of that has to get down with accepting who you are. There's some things that I've been fortunate to be able to do. I've built software that Oracle didn't think could be done. I built that for one of their CRM systems, their customer relationship management systems. I was the first blind executive to graduate the Harvard Business School leadership program, which was pretty cool.
Amazing.
Climbed the corporate ladder to VP at the world's largest open source software company. Learned how to ski after going blind, and recently skied black and even double black diamond terrain. So the things that I'm most proud of in my life is having the wherewithal to choose a path of a better life and not falling prey to the circumstances of my life, and making the choice, making the active decision to hold myself accountable to live a better life regardless of my circumstances. And in some cases, stepping through the fear and facing the fears that I had and stepping through those fears. I often refer to it as the beautiful gift that's been disguised in some really ugly wrapping paper. My blindness has forced me to improve my focus, my effort, my perspective, my determination. And now I use my blindness to help other people and help them reach their full potential and live their best lives. And so in that regard, my blindness has actually improved my vision, because I'm able to see things that I otherwise wouldn't be able to see. The book it captures the stories of my life. So I give keynote presentations, and one of the things that I wanted to do was create something for people who don't have the opportunity to attend a keynote presentation. Not everybody gets to go and visit a keynote. Those are usually conventions or conferences or corporate teams. And I wanted a way to reach people in their homes where they are, so that people can benefit from the lessons I've learned throughout my life without actually having to go through those experiences themselves. It was a way to package up those lessons in a very much a storytelling format to reach people where they are.
A lot of us are struggling with unwanted thought patterns at the moment. Like, how can we break through that, mate?
I think the key to this situation, and with my blindness as well, was figuring out what stories I was going to tell myself. For me, I could have sat around and just chose to tell myself that I went blind because I have incredibly bad luck. Or I could choose to tell myself that I went blind because I'm one of the very few people on the planet with the strength and the toughness to overcome it and help other people with it. It reframes my disability as my strength. I went blind because I'm strong enough to deal with it and help other people. So I think it's really important. It's sort of a Jedi mind trick. How do we choose to attach meaning to events? As we look at COVID, what meaning are we attaching to those events? So how do we create the right narrative in our minds that, instead of keeping us trapped, they allow us to bounce back and thrive in the face of some adversity? Resilience to me means visualizing greatness in circumstances that aren't always the best. I had to figure out how I could make blind look good. And if I could never figure out how to make blind look good to me, the odds of me moving towards acceptance were next to zero.
Many of us in our minds go down this avalanche route where we start thinking about these negative thoughts, and then that negative thought just goes. Is there a tool or technique that you use to break that thought chain?
An exercise in the back of my book some exercises that can help people with that. And I'll just give you a quick soundbite of it, but it's pausing, jotting down of a given situation that's consuming your anxiety. It's causing great anxiety. Stopping and saying, all right, what are the facts of this situation? And what are the stories I'm telling myself about those facts? And then of that, what is inside my sphere of influence and what is outside my sphere of influence? And for the things that are outside our sphere of influence, we have to stop and think about how we can paint a picture of thriving in those circumstances. And that can help us build a roadmap to look at the things that are inside our sphere of influence. It's understanding what can we control and what can we not control. And the things that we can't control, we have to figure out how we can make those look good while leaning on the things that we can control to support pursuit of that vision, of that goal.
Many of us out there have always got an excuse not to do something.
I decided to adopt a new philosophy in my life that excuses are for losers. And we can all find legitimate reasons to fail, but how do they serve us? None of us are responsible for all of our circumstances, but we all have to be accountable for our life and its outcomes.
But stepping outside of our comfort zone and doing things, why is that so important?
I think it's why I've been as successful as I've been, if I'm being very honest with you. My entire life has been an experiment of living outside my comfort zone. Growing up, I was learning the limitations of my eyesight. That was very uncomfortable. I was bouncing off of things. I was in the hospital so much that they questioned me and my parents if they were beating me. I ended up losing my eyesight at university. That was uncomfortable. Then I'm walking around at university with a 100-pound German Shepherd. That was uncomfortable. And then after that, it was job interviews and conference rooms, and then traveling all over the United States and then all over Europe and Asia with just me and my guide dog not being able to see. And every time I moved just slightly out of my comfort zone, I noticed my comfort zone start to expand. And that's where growth takes place. If you're not getting outside of your comfort zone, then you're not growing. Comfort is complacency. And I don't know what I would do if I couldn't get out of my comfort zone. I think it's why I love skiing so much. So when I was going blind, I wasn't sure what I couldn't see until I bounced off of it. Right. And then it occurred to me, you know what, this happens to all of us in our daily lives. All of us are unaware of certain things until we metaphorically bump into them. But I think we all have blind spots, regardless whether or not we can see or not. A lot of people think vision is what you see. And you can improve your vision by stop looking all around you and just starting to look deep inside you. That's where vision comes from.
Sometimes I don't ask for help, right? I take a lot of things on. What would you say to that comment as well about people that, don't always express the need to want help or need help?
Life's a lot more enjoyable for you and for the people around you if you can kind of check your pride at the door. And I say this from a position of empathy, because I was that person. The humbling reality of going blind forced me to accept the fact that there were certain things I just couldn't do. No matter how much I argue with my wife, she just won't let me drive. Right? It's a natural thing to want to do everything yourself. But I think the question that people have to ask themselves is, do I really enjoy doing all these tasks? Am I really good at these? And how much more could I multiply my time and my output if I find somebody to do the things that I really don't enjoy doing and I'm not that good at, that they are good at and they enjoy doing? All of a sudden, you can multiply your effectiveness and your efficiency.
What would you like to leave everyone with here from today's discussion?
Everybody needs to learn how to tell themselves the right stories. That is the single most important lesson that every person can learn, is how to tell themselves the right stories. You will become the stories that you tell yourself. If you're telling yourself a story of poor me and I have terrible luck, then that's who you're going to be. If you're telling yourself a story of I've got this, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to figure out how to make it look good, then that's who you can be. We all become our stories, so make sure you choose yours wisely.